Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the finance meeting. The main purpose of the day, by the way, is to try and get to item 10, which is the next year's budget. So we need to get a move on. Apologies for absence.
I'm received.
Minutes of the last meeting. I think the only item that is being carried forward is an update on the dispensation policy from the monitoring officer. Have we had anything on that? No. Okay, so that carries on. Okay, so I propose the minutes are delivered, seconded. Members are reminded of the requirement to disclose any interest in relation to items on the agenda when these are discussed. Item 4, budget and financial report. There's a very brief summary, which you should have, and a page in the normal format relating to the month ending November. As put in the summary, the budget's just sort of trundle on. We're doing okay, and when we get a bit further, you'll discover we're doing very okay. We'll get back a bit later. Just to say on the figures, say that on the income, we're 66% through the year, but we're 80-something percent. We're 83% of income, so the income's looking pretty good. I think that's sort of more or less a done deal. Then on the costs, 66% through the year, and our costs are running at 68%, so we're no risk of it. So that sort of says it all.
Because of the preset. Just coming.
On the income?
Yeah.
Yeah, the precept's been in.
Yeah, so it's better than that, yeah.
But if you look at where we've got to go, is that fairly, I mean, the leases and that sort of thing, which are pretty safe. And the costs are just, well, we're 2% out at the moment, which is not only bad. So that's okay. And then the year end that we discussed last month is just having all of that. That looks about right. So we'll stick with that. So with a bit of luck, we might hit the target we've set ourselves, including the new vehicle and including the write-offs, which we intend to do as well as that. So do what I think is right. The bad news is that the harbour commissioners have still not signed the lease, and at the last minute they've introduced a whole raft of new elements that have got to be considered. There's a meeting tonight to try and finalise it, but it's a bit frustrating to say the least, really. After all this time to bring a whole set of new factors in, quite technical. It's not moving on really, so we'll see how we get on. Tomorrow's meeting, Thursday's meeting was going to be the absolute red line, so we need to think about that. Matt?
Yeah, I was going to say, this is out of order. What's our options?
Plan B.
Which is
Taking our
Which
ourselves.
is-
Taking the only 5th of February.
so we need to get moving on that.
Well, we're going to tell that this afternoon.
I don't know whether it's in deliberate time wasting, so we can't introduce Plan B, but that's not the case at the moment. So
It's just measurements, isn't it?
no, it's more than that.
It's more than measurements.
It's technical. Technical in and they want. This is at least we're talking about. They want to put aerial photographs and this, that, and the other. It's just nonsense, really. Jane?
This, just to clarify, this refusal to carry on at the moment, is that to cover the boat park and the jetty?
No, this is just a jetty.
Just the jetty.
Yeah.
So the boat park, that's all going ahead.
Yeah. I mean, if I could just remind you, the reason why I went ahead with this is that apart from anything else, at some point the jetty needs replacing. That's going to cost $250,000. We haven't got $250,000, and part of the lease was that they would replace that at their cost, and we get it's exactly 12 months since we started talking. So.
Longer if you.
Well,
Yeah,
actually,
no, previous.
the lease itself, the written word is over 12 months. Okay. The only other item just mentioned is that the play group, we've now had a survey done. We've got the heads of terms ready to go, so we'll hopefully make some progress on that. But apart from that, this November is all okay. So is any queries on the current figures? No? Okay, Tracy, would like to do the debtors list?
Do you not want the financial monthly overview first?
Yes, I would like that first,
Would you
obviously.
like that first?
I always do that.
Yes, definitely. So the income for November was £9,532.43. Expenditure for November was £31,362.11. And the bank balances as at the 30th of November, the new CCLA Public Sector Deposit Fund has £1,000. The business current account £11,874.39. The Unity current account £9,356.80. Instant access account £85,208. Business premium reserve account £80,000. And the business premium client account £485.95. And that makes a total on all accounts of £187,925.14.
All happy?
Yeah.
We'd like to do the debtors list.
I'd like to do the debtors list. You have the credit control debtors list in front of you. Quite a few people have paid since the last meeting, but we do still have 3 items outstanding relating to the town guide.
I was going to mention the Henry District Council.
Benton District Council, there's a debt there of £19,235.85, which the invoice has only just been raised, and that was for our share of the income for this season.
So, to put that in perspective, that's a £4,500 increase over and above our budgeted estimate.
Yeah.
It's quite, for those who are interested, I just checked up, and if you look at the increase percentage over our budget, from 1,000, in percentage terms, it's exactly the same as the Lido's increase over last year's budget. So it's all the Western Province obviously had a good year, and I think it's what we need is hot weather when the schools are on holiday. That's the key to it. So I've made
We'll arrange that, shall we?
I've got a couple of questions on that actually. Is that do we know if that's driven by kind of increased spend from people visiting in terms of, because I know they put the car park charges up this year, didn't they? Is the increase come from that, or is it more people?
I think it's volume.
Yeah. And then the other thing was, I noticed on the action points, there was an action point for me to talk to the cherry tree. We're not going to get that money because that's completely
That's gone again,
now. So we need to, that's going to have to be written off.
The right one.
But the other two, yeah, I think we should. What's our
They
actions
were
now?
given 7 days, the other 2 chased and given 7 days to pay.
And this is the Rosebud and the Thames Estuary Lobster Hatchery.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what are we going to do after 7 days?
Well, I think we should just issue get an independent debtors notice, and that's what we should have it available. It doesn't cost very much. There's a number of people who do it. So if you've got a problem, you just send it to them and then leave them to it.
But we haven't had anything from them saying why they're not going to pay. Interesting.
The reason I mentioned that is I think it should be that should be our standard. We shouldn't be
Yeah.
spending too much time filling that.
But haven't we already sent them a warning? Should we not go to the next stage, which is a call? Call?
Yeah. Well, sorry, Jack. Well, what I suggest is it's very low cost. You first of all you pass it. If we remind them, nothing happens. It then goes to the agency.
Okay.
Nobody to solicitors.
charge split between Western Prom and
No, I have asked for a
Saving
breakdown.
Because that would be quite interesting to know how the Saving Club car park, how much that, what percentage is to it.
I mean, the price rise can't explain the increase. Well, it can be part of it. It's got to be volume. There's some.
I think the Western Prom had a good year last year. It seemed to be very busy, didn't it?
Any further comment on that? Where are we now? Bank accounts.
Can I just go back? Sorry, one of the debtors of £30.24 was for use of the Heritage Jetty that hasn't paid.
Right. I'll chase that.
Okay.
If you don't need
Yeah.
detail.
Thank you.
I know it.
Okay, bank accounts. I think Chris is going to make a statement.
Well, it's really getting over you. After a lot of dancing around different areas, I've discovered that the CCLA account doesn't have the guarantee of £5,000. And that is because it's an investment that doesn't carry that type of guarantee. By the way, it's paying out about 5% at the moment. I went down other CCA options and other people's options, and the best I can do for a local authority is running out at about 2.7 to 2.8%, which is close to what Unity's putting out. That's a very similar thing. CCLA, being an investment bond, is basically ranked by Fitch. Now, I don't know if you know, there's Fitch and there's Paul and people like that that rank the whole thing. Just as a matter of interest, they are rated at AAA, which is by far the highest. I'll give you an example. The Bank of England is ranked at AA minus.
Yes.
The country is ranked at AA minus. Barclays Bank is a single A plus. HSBC is a AA minus. Santander is an A. NatWest Bank is an A plus. And Lloyds Group is an A plus. So there's nobody, with the one or two exceptions, strange enough, the European Bank are the only issuers in the UK that run this AAA status. They are paying, as I say, close to 5%. The chances of them going down, I think, are highly limited with that rating. And secondly, they are they have a custodial trustee. The custodial trustee is HSBC, which holds that account separately, so if CCLA collapsed, that account would be protected. So it's isolated. Now the CCLA have, and it was quite difficult to find, I had to read the whole website and finally came down with some small print to say that we are FCA controlled and FSCA, the guarantee, except for this particular, well, the two products, the one that goes to the charities and churches and ones that go to local authorities. And that's because they're investment bonds. We put £1,000 in just to open the account, just to get it open. Do we put any more in, or are we insisting that we go for a guaranteed account? In which case you'll lose, obviously you'll get the requisite.
James first.
Oh, I was just going to say I sit on two trusts, both with CCLA.
Yeah,
I'd highly
as a matter of interest,
I'd highly recommend it.
town does invest in this as well.
What's the plan? How much money would we put in here?
Well, we planned to put 85,000 in because that's what the guarantee goes into. But as there's, you can
So
put
an extra couple of percent on 85 grand would be about £2 grand a year.
Yeah,
Is what we'd be missing out by not having that guarantee.
at least that way. Yeah. You're basically halving, give or take a bit, you're halving the interest rate what you get. And at 5%, 85 grand, you're going to be getting about 4,200 or something.
So almost the equation is an extra £2,000 or £3,000. But
yeah, well, I mean that's the whole point, isn't it? Is what's the but? Is it a big?
I know.
The country would sink before this would.
My own view is everything is slightly at risk to everything. any bank with a AAA is quite absolutely amazing.
There's very few of them.
So I'm very happy about that, and obviously what Jane's saying, being reassured by other people using it. And I think if they have protected the funds through a different bank and it is ring fence, if they did go down as a company, I think must give us the satisfaction of the same as good. I think definitely.
What's the access terms? Is it like instant access if you want to get the money out?
Pretty much,
Yeah.
I mean, it's 2 weeks or something like that. I mean, it's a paper process, it's not...
That should
do everything.
We had to make access on one of the trusts I sit on, and we had it in the bank within 3 days.
I think, as you say, it's as quick as they can work through the paperwork.
John?
I think it's worth being cautious, and Chris is right to bring it up and put caution there. And I also think that this committee is a much better committee than it was perhaps a year ago. So there are people on the committee now that would be monitoring that. So I feel that the risk is worth it. But I think the committee ought to be looking at a maximum of how much they will be putting in there to limit that loss, if ever it happened. I get the AAA.
I mean, if we are going to go ahead with it, my suggestion is that first of all we formally update our risk assessment.
Yeah.
And we send risk assessment and tell the internal auditor that we intend doing it. Not ask his consent, because that's not his job, but to say we'll update risk assessment for the following reasons and notifying him so that he doesn't come back at the final audit and say, give us a black marks again. So that proviso, I think that would go with the vote.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. I mean, if it was my money, I'd put it in. It's just this is public money, isn't it? But I like that idea of you going to some outside and asking before we do anything. You know, the auditor.
Well, we can you notify the auditor of our intentions.
Yeah,
but
to see what reaction.
You know, and these are the reasons which are
Yeah.
incorporated into the risk assessment.
I'd just like to add one thing. I think we should limit it. And I think, the maximum we should ever put in it is 85,000, so that we don't, in future, I'm not tempted to put everything in it. So we put some limit to it. But to be frank, I mean, I've been in touch with about 4 or 5 people, including Trevor's spoken about it, our internal audit. It is, I mean, you can have a guarantee, but the guarantee organisation will have gone bankrupt by the time this goes down. So no, I think it's a very, very low risk.
Yes, so
Are you proposing that as a recommendation?
I am proposing that.
Are everybody seconding that?
I'll second it.
Are we all voting?
Okay, thank you. We'll do
Can I
the.
abstain at the moment? Sorry, I'm still not sure.
Can I suggest what we do is we'll do the risk assessment and the notification of the internal auditor before we do that. When we've had notification that he's got our update, we'll do it then.
It has been discussed with them, so.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
I've got to agree with Chris, and also if you've got a paper trail, to say we've had this discussion, if you'll confirm it, and then.
Just as a matter of interest, the risk, when we do the risk review, risk register review, is that done in this meeting? We did it as a separate
yes.
thing last time.
Yeah, risk register's done on their finance.
Yeah.
So should we put that for next finance then?
Yeah, I think mentioned before that I've invited the internal auditor along just for a forum really. I mentioned it last time. Meeting just to try and you see it's an awful lot of other councils' accounts and this sort of thing and that procedures. It'd be a good idea just to quiz them. And before it comes, it'd be good to have an update on all our policies, which we said we would do in our strategy document. So that would be just after Christmas, I think.
So we'll leave the money in where it is at the moment. So the second part of this, which isn't on the agenda, but it was a hangover from last, was I was going to open up a post office account. So that Tracy, they no longer do accounts. You can have a saving account. But, and I did get the printout, I've got it somewhere for you, they are now fully accessible to Barclays. You can deposit money there and cash with your the card.
We do.
So it saves you doing the cash yourself now?
But I don't have a card for Barclays to get money out. I only have a Barclay card, but then you get charged for taking cash out.
Oh, can we not apply for a card then?
I don't know.
I mean, obviously the option of the post office is not an option. And all they say when I talked about it to them was that there's now 25 banks that they do. The one exception is the Unity Trust, of course, but they do Barclays and all the big ones, and they said all you need to do is go in there with your debit card.
You need a debit card.
Okay.
So, and that may be the most simplest solution as well, because then we don't have a full bank account.
Okay, that was done on bank accounts. 7 is the town council lottery. So the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, so this is an idea. I just want to kind of like briefly introduce now, because there's quite a lot of detail, just to get a general gist as to whether people are interested in exploring this more and going around and finding out more information. So the idea is essentially a Brightlingsea version of the lottery, National Lottery. Instead of being run by National Lottery, it would be run by a company called Gatherwell, who work with about 140 local authorities and community groups across the country doing community lotteries. The way, I mean, they've got loads of credentials. I've printed out some presentations that I won't bore you with now, but I'll distribute to those who want it, and then I'll also send out links over email and stuff as well. But basically I see this as potentially a way for us to change how we're doing our grants. Because at the moment we give whatever it is, £5,000 or £10,000 a year to the same bodies every year, and it's not the most proactive or dynamic way of doing it. This could be a little bit different. So in essence, tickets cost. So in this example, just a simplified example, the company does the advertising and marketing locally, designs a website, runs it all, does all the administration, and of course they take a cut of everything that you'd expect, so I'll come to that in a second. There's also an element of direct engagement with the local organisations and community groups that want to be involved. So each ticket costs £1, and they can be bought online or by phone, by direct debit or by debit card. As I said, Gatherwell manage the site for Brightlingsea Town Council. Each pound ticket is broken down like this. So 50%, 50p goes to the cause, the community group that sold that ticket. So let's say if it was the YMCA, they wanted to get involved in this lottery and sell tickets to their members. Each pound that their members buy tickets, 50p goes straight to YMCA. 10% would come into our coffers, so 10p for every pound into our coffers. 18.2% would go into the prize fund. Another 18.2 pence would go to the operator, Gatherwell, and then there's 4 pence of VAT on there as well, which I guess we would pay back. The individual players would have 2 options on how the 60% of their ticket purchase, so the 50p to the cause and 10p to us, they can decide where that goes. So let's say if the default one would be if you bought it from the YMCA would be the main one, but they might say actually I also want to do it for the Autumn Centre or something, in which case they can choose to split it 50-50. Because obviously a lot of people have got a lot of interests, or they can buy more tickets. Just in terms of comparing it to how other lotteries work, so People's Postcode Lottery, Health Lottery and the National Lottery, 60% of this goes to good causes. On the National Lottery it's only 28%. On the Postcode Lottery it's 33%, and the Health Lottery is only 20%. This is according to Gatherwell's fund. As a punter, and this is something we will have to consider. It is gambling. There is a gambling element involved, so that's something morally we'll have to think about. But if you match all 6 numbers, you get 25 grand, and that's going to do what you want with. 5 numbers is £1,000, down to 3 numbers, which is 25 quid, and that's pretty much it. There is a set-up cost, so they charge £5,000 up front, so that would be an investment this council would have to make. That's a one-off upfront thing, so they can do all the marketing, set up the website, £5,000. They reckon it could be worth our 10%, with the size of town that we are. They reckon it could be worth anything between £3,000 and £5,000 per year. I think it would be maybe a little bit less than that, but Brightlingsea is a very, very community-minded town, which could be where they've got their estimate from. But we end up, let's say, if it ends up at £3,000, £4,000, £5,000, that's then money that we could potentially offer as discretionary grants to people that want to do something in Brightlingsea. So in theory, we could take half of 1 year's standing grants, invest that in this, and then we're getting returns back to give as grants in the future, whilst those organisations are all getting an invite to sell tickets themselves, because then they're getting 50p in every pound and they can do whatever they want with. So that's basically about it, really. It's all kind of above board. They've got all the right gambling licences from the government and all that. And as I said, they work with about 140, I think it is, local authority and community groups. So yeah, that's.
For somebody who trained with the lottery when it first came out, there's lottery do something similar, I think, because there is a couple of organisations that took out the lottery one.
Right.
So it'd be interesting to see if they still do it, and what their percentages is. Would we need to be licensed because it's a game?
They handle all of the licensing for that
Okay.
£5,000. So I think you do have. Sorry, there is £400 a year licence that we have to pay.
Okay, so
But they handle it all.
they get it from, because that would go to tendering because it's a gambling licence. I would be interested to see what the lottery themselves come up with, because I don't know much about them anymore. But I'm also a little bit worried where they're predicting on our numbers. It is a known fact that the lottery sales are falling dramatically because people do not have this excess money anymore. I know scratch cards, for instance, were a very high, selling point and lots of money. They're down. They've lost something like 48% of their sales, which is huge. So that would be interesting. I'm just a little bit. Don't get me wrong, because I know several people that take it out through the lottery side. A 5,000 setup is, to me, is really high, because I don't think the lottery charged anywhere near that. I'm not saying no, but there's just lots of questions to me, and I would, at the moment, need a lot more information on.
Yeah, this is just to introduce
that's
to start getting those questions. And then what I was going to propose is, I've got 3 copies of their presentation that I could give to 3 of you, but I ran out of paper, so I couldn't print any more.
We need to come to a social
I
shop.
spent enough on your shop on Christmas card. Yeah, I have to. But I can distribute by email,
Yeah.
and then maybe we could get questions back if people feel like it's worth
I
investigating.
think the YMCA. Let me find out the YMCA's. I thought they took part in the lottery one, as did the Autumn
Yeah,
Centre.
the Autumn Centre did. I thought that was a council.
Was it? I don't know.
It was some official name, wasn't it?
Yeah, but yeah, as you say, it's a starting point. There's a lot more questions I would need answering on this.
And then Rick's next.
Well, I was just going to say, I'll be honest with you, whatever council decides, I would definitely be against it because I just don't agree with gambling in any shape or form. I think it creates huge misery, and it's a social evil, and I just don't want to be. I wouldn't want to be associated with it. So I can tell you, whatever you all decide, I will be definitely. Just
I mean, it is definitely a moral judgment
It is, yeah.
each of us has to make.
I'm not saying it's not a bad scheme.
I'm not into it. But the data that I've seen, I'll circulate it. It does seem to suggest it's not like a gateway into other gambling, but it is gambling itself. So.
Whatever decides is up to them.
Chris, did you want to?
I'm just intrigued by it. By the way, congratulations, you added us to causes. I've worked out the percentages. But how often would it run?
I think it's every month.
Because
They did tell me.
I can't make the numbers work for them. If the top prize is 25,000 and they estimate we'll get an income of 5, then that means that the total income they get over the year would be 50,000.
So
And they're
the way,
paying out prizes at £25,000.
so the prize fund goes into a wider prize fund.
So you're not
So
just
if it was running just on its own.
So each month, somebody outside the district could win it?
Yeah, because you've got to match 6 numbers to get that 25
It's a
grand.
bit like the lottery,
It's
isn't it?
exactly
Could be
right.
anyway.
So I understand. So there's a bigger
Yeah,
thing.
so they're taking all of their
I see now.
18.2p's,
Yeah.
putting it into a wider fund.
Yeah. And it's a
Yes.
pound.
A pound, yeah.
Yeah.
Their bump was saying, on average, they see the average person puts basically £10 direct debit, and then that's it. And then they get 10 tickets each month, and it just rolls on. Yeah.
Jay, what are you going to say?
No, I was just going to say what Chris said. It didn't
Alright.
sort of add up, but I understand now. You said that, yeah. I couldn't see where we was going to get that 25 grand from in town.
Oh yeah, and we're not liable for anything. So if people, so I assume
Yeah,
they don't pay out that 25 grand every month, a bit like the lottery,
yeah.
because sometimes it rolls over.
Like they
They don't do
roll over,
rollovers.
But the top prize is fixed at 25.
Yeah. So I imagine they're insured
I'm
against
just
that.
trying to
And
work out
also
how they
they're-
make their money.
Yeah.
They're either insured against it or making
Yeah.
a lot of money out of the prizes.
Yeah.
I don't know how regularly
No.
it's won. Yeah.
Okay, John?
I think it's a very modern approach to the council. Maybe we ought to take a modern approach. The whole council needs to hear about it. I think it would be a good thing now to distribute it to all councillors with the thing saying it's been discussed at the finance. No opinions have been made and no propositions have been made. But and look at the feedback that comes back, because it may be the same as we.
Have you spoken to any of the councils just to get a third party?
No, because I wanted to talk to you guys kind of first. And I would say, even if we do decide to if we did get to a point where we wanted to go for it as a council, it might be the kind of thing that we might want to get the public's opinion on, because we're dealing with their money. It's not like
That's right.
an individual company. They are our funders, so we should check. I think it would be.
Sorry, can you just reiterate how would we get? We'd have to put up £5 grand.
Yeah, so that's a one-off.
That's a one-off payment. Can we get that back?
So we earn that back through the 10p.
Through the
10p.
10p. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that kind of stays like that.
Yeah.
More tickets, the groups sell, and we sell, because if we sell them ourselves, we don't get 10p, we get 60p.
Okay.
But I don't think that's really the way to do it. The way is to empower the groups to do it themselves, because then it's a really easy way for them to make a decent amount of money pretty quickly.
I think that's essential, because otherwise we'll see it as competing against.
They will.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Okay, so should we go forward with John's suggestion that you're going to information,
Yeah.
ask questions, and
I'll send over the 3 documents I've got from them, and then
No, I think, it's only £1, which is not, because the national lottery is now £2. I think that's why a lot of people stopped doing it, didn't they, when it went up to 2, so it could be.
It's
it's a good amount.
workers outside on that.
I want to do in the roof,
Yeah.
aren't they?
Put the Christmas tree up.
Okay, well, thanks for that. That's interesting. Item 8 is the ballpark prices. That was discussed at some length last night at the FCA. So perhaps we could summarise.
Well, I think there was a very good discussion last night regarding the vote, because we take it back on the 25th. We also discussed what remedial work we're going to be doing through Terry as well, which was to get it ready. But there's a general feeling within the FCA that we should not be increasing charges at all next year. In other words, keep them exactly the same as last year, just for continuity. So we're going to be sending out a nice welcome letter in December to all the people who've got licences. I understand that there were a few small boat park places empty, but there is a waiting list for the larger ones. So what part of Terry's plan is that we will need to reline the boat park and clean it all up, and look at the main gate and tarmac it a bit and security cameras and so on, which will obviously come in once we start in January. But the general consensus was we should keep the charges exactly the same as next year.
So I would applaud that decision. Yeah, we don't need to raise them.
I agree.
Well, most likely going to say this, but I think we also discussed the fact that we could actually reorganise it so we get a few more.
Yes. We're going to be much more clever with the whole
Rather than just relining it, we'll replay it.
Yes, and we are hoping to instigate a simple locking system on the main gates that can be locked, which have distinct advantages to anybody who owns a boat in there, because then they will be able to insure their product. At the moment, you cannot insure something with an open gate because you're inviting theft in, basically. So there will be definite advantages to the people next year. It will be cleaned up. We're going to scrub the floor and move the boats over and use the vent track. We're looking at a new camera system and looking at lighting at the far end as well, so it will be better. And long term, lots of new ideas and in the strategy coming through.
Good.
So yeah.
Good. Modernisation.
Well, hopefully the public will approve.
Any comments on that?
No, I agree.
Do we need to agree the prices? Could you
Well,
confirm the prices?
You want to tell me what the prices
Yes,
are?
please.
So they are segregated for the black, which is obviously a boat set around the wall, at £112. A Creekside, which is a 16-foot by 7-foot square, which is 126. A 17 by 17-foot standard square is 229. A medium, which is 19 foot by 21 foot by 7 foot, is 279. And the very large ones are 25 feet by 10 foot, which is 364. That's for a calendar year from April the 1st, 24.
So there's an important thing on this. When and it's currently still under the BHC, they charged VAT on that. I'm
That
guessing
was including the
that
VAT.
includes VAT. So that's my question. The secondary question on that is the rateable value of those. They would be tendering the list of people that are
I
there.
think we have to inform TNC.
So we'll do the same thing.
We'll do the same
So
thing.
Brightsea residents, they get a 50% discount from that. So yeah, so
Yeah.
basically it's the same.
We have the file now from Harbour Commissioners. We had a full handover discussion with the Harbour Commissioners. Very good, very good. And Julie's pretty well okay with everything.
Right.
So we're ready to rock and roll.
Good.
Okay, just on that, if I could just take this opportunity, if whether you pay VAT on land rental is, normally you don't, but in 2012 a lot of the rules changed, but generally it's unusual. It's always, the harbour always had a VAT on, but if you don't have to pay VAT, it's worth £5,000 also helps us to, for example, invest that money and improve the place
Improvements.
and that sort of thing. So if you ask the VAT man or woman, then you normally don't get much of an answer. There is a company called, well, there's quite a few companies, but there's one called Constable VAT, which is a national network of VAT consultants. They're actually comprised of ex-VAT inspectors. I think there's 9 in the country.
Overstaffed then.
I've had some experience of them and they've always been very good. My sort of request would be, do we go to Consul VAT and ask them for a ruling? The advantage is with this particular company, they've got PI insurance. So if they advise you, you do it and it goes wrong, then you're completely covered by their insurance. I've approached them there's a fairly local office, and they would report on that fairly quickly for the sum of £600. So investment of £600, I don't know what the answer would be, but you get a clear answer, which could be worth 5,000 to 6,000 a year to us. So my recommendation, if I can give one, is that we should invest in that. And I think we would get an answer probably, well, I would say to them, you've got the job, but I want the answer before Christmas.
Yes. I'd like to second that.
Certainly.
So, sorry, can you just reiterate for me? So if it becomes under the council's reign, we're allowed to claim the VAT back, is that what you mean?
No, it's the other way around.
Yeah, so how does that work then?
So if you pay £100 to have your boat in the park,
Yeah,
then and VAT is charged, well, we take 20% of that and give it to that man.
right.
If we don't, then we keep the 20%. Is how it works. Does that make sense? So we prepare an invoice.
So what we're saying is that the Harbour Commissioners have always charged VAT at those
Yeah.
prices they gave you,
Yeah,
included that VAT. And what we're questioning is whether they should have ever charged it in the first place, because it is quite right to say when you lease a piece of land like so, there shouldn't be VAT.
But how would we get?
Well, if we charged for every £100 we charge, we would get £100 and we keep £100.
Okay.
Otherwise, we take 20% and
Okay.
next 20%.
That's a good
And
Yeah. Sounds good. Sorry.
I must admit, we've always said we can't spend money this year, you know, but to make sure we are doing it correctly, we've already been through a governance and pulled up on some things that weren't being done correctly. So as much as, no, I don't want to spend £600, but yes, I think we should, because I think it brings us back, you know, above board, and we've got some backing that way.
I mean, I'm desperate trying to hit the target.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we've just had windfall from the car parks, which makes it.
Yeah, but we don't want to keep spending it. But I do, you know, I think because it is, again, it's other people's money, and I think under the governance review, yes, we should be above board on everything.
Chris?
Oh, well, I was going to say, judging by relationships around the Hold at the moment, there is bound to be somebody that will question it. And I think it would be good if we actually had some paperwork that said you can or you can't.
I mean, the question is, are we offering are we offering goods or services? Is how we look at it. And normally, land, I mean, all of our leased land doesn't attract VAT. But things changed a little bit in 2012, so I'm not too sure. But I think this consultancy on £600, I would quite like to say to them, if it's, we'll give you 3 for starters, if it's, give us a 2. If it's a no, that's your lot. If it's a maybe, then you carry on and rank the report.
I bet you're a good fisherman with your
No,
bait.
but Dave, whatever you say, they'll put 20% on it.
But what we need is if we can do this, it's the wording of the agreements got to be very clear.
Yeah.
So it's quite a special subject.
It's interesting from my knowledge, the original wording is licensee, which implies that they're licensing to use the land, which means that's non-vatable. And they've actually used those words.
Yeah.
We must keep to licensing. We must not
Yeah.
give anybody.
No, I think
Because it becomes a lease then, you don't want to.
That's what
it's just as a matter of interest, do we pay VAT on car parking?
No. Car parking is in the VAT law is a totally separate subject, and I don't see what the difference is, but it's. I mean, VAT law is incredibly. It's very technical.
Very complex.
But I think it's worth the. So is that?
I
That's
think
what I recommend. Or-
Yeah, I've got. Yeah,
No,
I agree.
absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll do that. ASAP. Right, where are we? We're now on item 9, which is the annual grants. The background to this is, I think it was June of this year, we decided that we should review all the grants. Are we doing this fairly and regularly? And we said we would do that in readiness for next year. So the time has come. So it's worth having to think about that. How we do it, I'm not too sure, but if anybody's got views in the process.
Have you got paper?
I'd quite like to take that on. I'll review it.
You
You're about to offer me
Yeah.
that, were you?
Yeah, I've got, yeah, Matt.
So I'll say on the work we do on this, do we have a simple sheet that says what they've got, what they've been given throughout the years, and kind of how it came about in the first place? It'd be good to understand kind of what groups are getting what and how long they've been getting that, and what the total donation to them from the town has been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sort of history involved, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's things like the churchyard, isn't there, where it's written into their agreement. But as you say, I know that, but would you have known that? You know, and
Well,
Yeah.
all agreements are finite.
we'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay, Tracy and I will do that if you're happy.
So we've got a willing volunteer to lead this process. Are we happy with that?
Yes, definitely.
I was about to scream about it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
beat it up.
That was okay.
Thanks.
Just a matter of interest, are there any things we give that are not, they're in kind grants? Like we do the paperwork for them?
Or we spring the trust a little bit, and
No, it's really they employ them.
I thought we.
It's just, I just wondered if you should just think about those things as well.
Yeah, and I suppose the only thing that I could think of would be something like, perhaps not so much in Bloom, but the music festival where we would give our men's time. Is that the, you know, the men will go out the day before and put up or deliver cones and chairs and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, what triggered it was actually,
What is
the
it?
cricket club was thinking that we don't we store a load of stuff for people, or did.
Yeah. So there's lots of probably in kind.
What do you mean, instead of giving money?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, you could give somebody £100 or £500, but storing their bales or what it is for the year probably be worth more than that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to.
Yeah, we'll look at that.
Okay. Just a slight error in the agenda, so that we missed out item 5. Can we go back to item 5?
We can go back to item 5. Yeah. If I can have 2 councillors at the end of the meeting to sign off, we have 18 payments in the sum of £8,214.13, and you've all got the sheet of payments to be authorised.
Come on, say it's not Chris and I again, because we've been doing it for the last 3 months, I think.
I can say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dave and I have got to clear it on the account anyway.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do it again?
Yeah, you done right?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, got that, Chris, thank you.
Okay.
So have you got your 2?
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
You can do next month, Jim.
Now the final item, which is important, is the next year's budget. There is a time limit, so we have to have it agreed, full and finally agreed at the next finance meeting, then approved at the following full council, and that just gives us enough time to log that with or log it rather with Henry. That's the account and the precept. So we need to make some progress on that. I've issued some notes, which I know you've all avidly read. And I've also issued the rainbow budgets here, multicoloured. And the idea was to try and make it easy to make some progress. I don't know whether I've achieved that or not. But just looking at the figures, everything in green is more or less automatic. There can be some refinement, but it's things like utilities and business rates. Well, so on the income side, it includes leases because we can't rent about the leases. The leases are formally agreed as part of the lease, with the exception of the Haven, which is currently being reviewed. And interested in the contribution from TDC. So the green ones, the idea was that they're almost a done deal. Not much we can do about them. We'll refine them over the next few weeks, but that's that. Then if we get to the magnolia, and the word magnolia doesn't reflect the colour, it just reflects the fact it's pretty boring. So the magnolia items are the same, but there is room for manoeuvre on those. Not a great deal, and certainly there would all be items that would benefit from looking at how we procure them and can we cut costs and that sort of thing. So I'd say the notes were, I won't even try and explain that, but does that make some sense? Just green and magnolia. So again, we'll refine those and over the next few weeks and update people if we're making any progress. The key ones are the red ones, and then some which are more important than others, but if we just go through them. The first one, which is critical, is the precept. So all of these figures that we put together try and show the shape of how it's going to look. It's going to be a bit manoeuvring. So at the moment the precept is in with a 10% increase. Last year was 15%. This year's a 10%. I understand that now there is no limit on precept. I think the government have just issued that as an indigenous Chris.
Yeah.
So you can if you want. So we've got to decide what the precept should be. So this, at the moment, if you take 10%, it looks a fairly healthy set of accounts. The last 2 years have been austerity budgeting, really. But now we can see some shink of light, and we've got some scope to do a few more things than we've done in the past. So 10% for starters. So I don't know if you feel that would be appropriate. It's well above the rate of inflation, but when we get to the salaries, the salary award and the new NIC rules are going to eat up a lot of that 10%. So we've got to allow for that.
I was just going to say, most of these increases you're looking at is 5%, and even the staff, which is the big costing, is about 5% projected. I'm very uncomfortable with putting 10% on precept. I really am. After last year, I would have thought it should be more in line with 5% personally. I think if you look down here, you're going to be with the boat park coming in and the strategic options at the bottom. We're going to be pretty healthy anyway. I'm not sure we need to do any more than 5%. I'm not sure we're really in the business of. I mean, because families are
take most of the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, people are going to look and look at 10%. I say it every year, I wish we would put the
Yeah.
amount,
Yeah.
because, you know, tendering's going in at £5.
Yeah.
£5 over a year doesn't sound so bad. I'm not certain it's 10%, and I don't know what the 10% works out at, but I think to put 10% is high, and I'm very much with you at 5, 7 maximum, if we've got to split it in between. But I think it would be nice to have what the figures were,
Can't we do that?
because 10%, as I said, is so high.
Yeah.
And I'm with you on the cost of living at the moment.
Matt?
Okay. It's about 3,500 households in town, I thought, or parish, I think. So this is £6.86. Guess I've just done £24,000 increase divided by 3,500, £6.86. My thing is, we don't control the salaries, and it's by far and away the biggest liability we've got. Basing it on next year's predicted rise is a bit of a red herring, I think. We should be basing it on the rise we've literally just experienced, which I think was like 7 or 8%. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
What was predicted March 21st, 2025? What is that versus?
Well, they've got a lump sum of. Did you get 1,900 again?
No, I don't think it was that much.
The year before last was 1,940 something, I think.
But it's just that
certainly in the thousand.
so this year we're saying it's going to be 210 grand. What was it in year ending March 2024? So what was the percentage increase?
Minimum wage has got a 10% increase.
This is what you're saying is what was the agreement between Unite and the
No.
councils?
I'm just saying literally what was our in financial year 23-24? What was our staff costs? What was our staff line then?
I'm pretty sure we had 6.5% last year, and it's just about going to get within that. So we had a 6.5% on the previous year for this year, and we're just going to just about make that.
That for me is justifiable to say you base it on the year just gone, the increase on salary. So let's say 6.5%, 7%. That feels like something you can justify, I think.
But we've not. My feeling is to put 5% is not enough.
Yeah, so I'm saying it would be kind of like 6.5%, 7%, because
Cover yourself.
that was the rise on the salary from 23-24 to 24-25. Either that, or we've got to show what people are getting for this extra money. Because if you came to me and said, I want an extra 3%, basically, if we're saying 7%, I think you can justify that with salary costs. But I think if you're coming to me and asking for another 3%, you have to show me what am I going to get for that. Now, if that is going to be coppers on the streets because of our Project Quasar, which I think we need to add on to this, that's a completely different conversation. Because if we're saying if we did an extra 3%, that means we're going to be able to do Project Quasar, which is giving the police 5-10 grand a year to come and do their overtime here. That's a tangible thing that people are getting as value for money.
I'm making a suggestion that we freeze that and we'll forget that. We should go through the rest of the figures and then come back to that one.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do it the other way round. Make sure we can afford it.
No, I was just going to say something about the police. But that
Just as a matter of interest, if you're interested, retail price index in October was 3.4, up from 2.7 the month before, so there's a slight inflationary increase here. Core inflation is at 3.3, and consumer price index in October was 3.2, up from 2.6, so actually inflation is increasing, and remember you are projecting.
And I would say we need a 12-month average on that as well, because it was way higher.
Yeah, it's been bouncing.
Yeah, and we're not basing our numbers on 1 month. We're basing on the whole year.
Well, that is a rolling average.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Well, there's some other figures in here that are relevant, so we'll better go down here then come back. So we'll just go down in order then. The ballpark at the moment, who knows, but we've put in this 30,000, that's net. So if we, and I know the VAT is going to have a big impact, but this is assuming, we think, this is assuming we don't win the VAT argument, and it's net. So if we've got 33, we spent 3 on investing in the place. If we get 30, we leave it.
And that goes based on we haven't increased the price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't got access to the harvest figures, but this is what we believe is the sort of ballpark. And at the moment, just trying to get a shape for how it's looking like. Then, so that's where that comes from. If we look at the sales, we've done quite well this year in sales. The figures in here are for more or less for the performance this year, but the idea is to have a sales review in the next few weeks. So it can only get better than this. We've got to review pricing, what our product range is, the marketing. So I think the sales as of item 12 are at the sake, and we should do better following our review. Does that make sense? Cost of sales is normally 50%, so that follows the when we get legal fees, who knows? I'll suggest a figure of 8,000. It should be getting less, should it?
Yeah.
So that's, I think so.
So we've only got, how many leases have we got outstanding at the moment for the legal fees?
Got to do it.
2.
Are we fully up to date paid on
Sorry?
Are we fully up to date?
Yeah, with the exception of Haven, but we haven't actually started yet. And we've got a bit of leftover in the kitchen for the moment, so I'm suggesting 1,000. Who knows? But the 24 is tricky because that's transport and machinery, and the second vehicle is due. Should we want a second vehicle? And we've got to decide how to do that. We could try and extend the life of the one we've got.
I'll check, but I don't think that's an option.
I mean, that would be, I think, if it was possible, that'd be my preferred.
Yeah, no, it was a contract hire like the last one.
Oh.
So,
So going back on a due date, that's the end of it.
Well, yeah, and the problem is if you said, oh, it's got 80 or 90,000, they look so, but it's such a low one, gives them a good sale price.
Can't wait to get on with it.
we could have an occasional hire arrangement. We could have what we've just done with the first vehicle or whatever. But at the moment, in these figures here, there's no allowance to do what we've done this past year. So, and that's, if we wanted to do that, then we are talking about an increase of probably £9,000. So that it is a significant item, because you've got to pay a whopping deposit, and then the things increase anyway. So the whole issue of the second vehicle is quite a critical one. In fact, next to the precept, that is the dominant.
Well, and also, if we need a second vehicle, are we buying the right one?
Yeah. I mean, what do we do? What do we use with the second vehicle?
When you say what is the second bit?
It's a Mitsubishi pickup truck.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
That's what Terry is.
Yeah.
so our that bill is rising and to continue to rise significantly. I mean, I don't know whether we could fairly quickly invest, have a review where we are and what our options I think we've got to look at it
Yeah.
outside the box. And,
Yeah. Horse and car.
A quad bike.
yeah.
Horse and car.
A quad bike useful to pull things around.
So if you look at the first vehicle, we've taken the hit on the deposit, which was significant, and obviously the price is higher than it was before, but that's now at least. But this coming year, if we do the same, it's a big hit with the deposit again,
Yeah.
and then a higher charge. So, you know, it's a serious factor. So I don't know if Chris would want to take the lead.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you worked on the other. You worked on
I mean, if we-
the other one, didn't you? So you know where you're heading.
Good as
And,
well, isn't it?
yeah.
And you've got to look at usage and everything, haven't we? And,
Chair, I think we've got a review on the usage as well, which you
No, well, I think we did. I mean, the argument is it the
is
whether we have one and then is it the right?
yeah,
Mm.
it's need first. And so also it
It's
is.
only a two. It's only a one row one, isn't it? Can't get two rows in there, can you?
No. Oh, what, in the back?
I think you
You
I
can't.
think it's got, yeah, it's got
So it's a
Campster.
Well, maybe not.
No, you can't. Well, I saw 3 in a minute the other day.
Yeah, there are seats behind the drivers.
Yeah.
right. Okay, so it's quite a big one.
So we need to do that and try and make some speed progress.
Okay.
The maintenance, it always seems sort of struggling. We've sort of added a bit more, added 10% onto the maintenance, and it always seems to me that you're always waiting for the next incident to happen, which you've got no control of. So be a bit generous with the maintenance budget. Equipment signage, we've had requests. Well, Terry's asked for some new equipment, some machines. I don't quite know what exactly they are, but and also so we've had a request for signage from Kate. So we'll put that down. Those are defined items that have been asked for. We don't have to do that. But
Dave, I think you've also got signage for the boat
Boat
park.
park coming up.
yeah.
So I think that needs
Well,
to be
it's-
increased because there will be new ones.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that would, when we talk about the boat park net figure, there's a little bit to spend on it.
Can I make a quick suggestion on signage? And I mentioned this before, but we have still got loads of Tendring District Council, really good quality aluminium boards with COVID keep distance knocking around town. There's like 8 or 9 of them. And all you've got to do is get them down, give them to Clear to See, and they'll put a sticker on the side.
Yeah.
That saves you like £100 a sign.
That's good.
I mean, when we get a bit lower down, you'll see what we're trying to do to cover those sort of parts. But so that item 28 might have to increase that a little bit. Then, which we discussed, is the salaries. You know, what is the award going to be? Once we know what the award is, it's quite easy to calculate the new NIC.
Sorry, just before you move on, back with the signage,
Yeah.
we was going to put a sign somewhere advertising where the toilets were. Perhaps on that, on that nice sign we've got.
Finger post sign.
Yeah,
Which one?
that was, we were talking about that last year, weren't we?
Which finger post?
You know, as you come down, you turn right into the prom, there's a finger post,
I think
a really nice,
community.
yeah. And I know the museum always get requests as to where the toilets are. And we were going to put something up, weren't we? So I wondered if we might just consider that in that signage. So that when you get down, the toilet's on to the right.
In all fairness to Dave, this is an amount, not an individual.
Yeah, well, I just didn't know if
Yeah, I
that was,
think
I
you
think
just-
it's a cost.
That was defined. I mean, that's a result of people.
Yeah, you mentioned
which
Kate
I mean,
signs.
haven't been approved, but
No, it's just that you mentioned Kate signs,
No,
so I
I'll-
thought I'd just mention
no,
that.
I'll amend that. Anyway, so salaries is the 221 is not a very generous.
Don't think it's high enough.
I mean, it's 210 now. So if who knows? You could argue that the award should reflect inflation, but more than that. If you look at this
The
event.
2024 award, which was only notified on 22nd of October, the pay rates were increased each by £1,200. dated to the 1st of April.
And then was presented.
No, I think we were
It was
increased
binding,
by, I think the percentage goes on higher grades.
Yeah, it's 3.5% on anybody on a
Two and a
higher.
half.
2.5, was
Yeah.
it, on the higher?
Yeah, that doesn't affect us.
How much was that in monetary? Did you say?
1,290.
That's compared to what, 1900 this year?
No,
That
it's
was this year.
1,200 this year and 1,900 last year.
Yeah, sorry, so it's
Yeah.
it's increasing by 650 each time.
The 900 when there was rampant inflation.
No, it's gone down this year.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
other way around, thank you.
Yeah, it went down this year. But it still was averaging 7%, I think, just under 7%. So I think we need to increase that to 7%. We've
Yeah.
always managed to maintain our wages, Ben,
Just only just.
because we've always allowed, and I know tenderings every year put in 5%, every year I argue it, and they've been caught out every time.
Yeah, I would suggest that you do increase the it's a very unfair way they do it, where they backdate it and everything else, but that's life, that's the way it is. You know, all councils moan about it, but you can't moan against it.
It's because of unions, they
It's-
take
yeah,
so
yeah.
long to agree
I know,
an amount.
yeah. So I would suggest you do increase that by
To 7.
to 7, yeah.
Yeah.
We've never been caught out yet, have we, Joe?
No, and to me
Yes.
it's better to be
Yeah.
over than get caught.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have a look at that. I mean, I'll have to go around a few times, round and round, and then see how it's starting to look, but we'll do that. The grants put in an increase on last year's in total value, obviously that's subject to these other matters, and we come up with, I think that's a reasonable max figure to work to. Then the structural reconfiguration, that's it gives you a little bit of wriggle room, but it's also, if we do want to do something a little bit more, change the way we do things, you know, every now and again, an organisation should maybe do it enable searching and say, well, we're doing this the wrong way around. So this gives us, you know, it could be all sorts of different ways of how we operate, how we do whatever, so that's, I think, worth including at this point. Then the final red one is the police. At the moment, we've had a special constable scheme. We can only have 2,000 there. Well, 2,000. It was 1,000, I think. But if we want to do something different with our policing, then that's the item 37 is where we have to include that.
Yeah, so on that, I personally think, well, I don't know, have we still not had anything back from the police?
We have, we've had the costs come in. They're a lot more than when we were engaged onto the project Quasar before. They're a lot more expensive.
How much?
I don't know, but I did send them off to Dave. Did I send them to Dave? I'll have a look.
We can't really say.
I saw
We have seen
one
figures
about
from-
14,000.
Yeah. There's 3 stages, wasn't there? There's the
Yeah, I can't remember.
popular stage, the Geob stage, and the Rolls Royce stage. But it was more than what we had. But our £1,000 would have gone in a week.
Oh no, the £1,000 was completely separate, wasn't it? The £1,000 was for the special constables. This was Project Quasar, which is the overtime, funding the overtime. They were meant to be coming back to us with options
They
of
did.
5 and 10 grand.
Yeah, they did. I think I've got. Okay. I'll try and read this out, but I've got a bit of a cold. Sorry. I did send this to you. I'll resend it to you, Dave,
Okay.
and to you as well. So the cost per officer has worked out at current averages. This is likely to change in April due to NI increases and pay increases, but presently currently works out just under £30 per hour. So one officer for a 4-hour patrol is 120 quid. So 2 officer patrols would be £250 per shift. April 2025 to October 25, 31 weeks. He's used that date range to keep the costs down. And due to the demand being less during November and March, allows daylight being less so visibility is not there. So projected figures then. For one patrol per week, this would cost 7,440. For 2 patrols per week, it would cost 14,800. That's been left with. Have a think about what you can afford and what you would want to achieve from the cost. I'll resend that to Dave. And
Off that, I would like us to put in £7,500 for a two-person 4-hour shift once a week,
Would we,
and then
could
see
we
what
stop
happens.
doing the £1,000?
Oh yeah,
And then so
definitely.
that can go into
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
that's
Yeah, there's it. I think we have to admit that the special concept
Yeah.
scheme is not going to happen. We've done it. We've tried it for 2 years.
Okay.
For whatever, lots of reasons, it's not happening.
I must admit, I would go for the 2.
yeah, yeah.
14,
Yeah.
14 grand.
Definitely.
Well, you can, I mean, I'm happy. I'd like that.
I mean, it's one of the main key issues in the town.
Yeah. I prefer us to have the double. Because obviously that's a lot of money to find.
How many weeks would that go for?
Well, projected is April to October, so 31 weeks.
Sorry, John, what was the last?
31
Okay.
weeks. So I've sent that to this email. Everybody's got that email.
All right.
Yeah, sorry. The only thing that concerns me now is, I don't know whether you're aware, that under the new ruling and wage increase and NI and everything else, I think there's 9 police forces so far that have gone back to government, Essex included, and listed the amount of redundancies they're going to have to make because their funding won't cover the police officers. So, you know, it's one of these vicious circles, isn't it? So,
I got the impression he's taken that into account, but it's... No, he hasn't. Sorry.
no, because this has only been announced this week.
Yes. Yeah.
It is concerning though. You have a police force which is funded,
It is.
Get council. Its duty is to protect the public. And here we are discussing.
It leaves a bad taste in the majority of councils' mouths, and
Yeah.
the reality of it though is that it does work. When we were running Quasar before, it was working.
I can see it working. And I think the general public will be generally thankful for it.
And I was about to say that's the kind of thing that you would justify a 10% preset rise.
Chair, can I just say something about precept? Like, I've just come back to it. I wholeheartedly agree with Jay, is that in all of these things, you don't need to sell it to the town, but it's a good thing to sell it to the town. And to bring that down to a unit cost as opposed to a percentage is a far better thing. For this committee, by all means use percentages because you need to, because we need to think. But whatever it's sort of promoted and debated to the town, it should be a rise of so many pence on a band D property, which is the average.
I think last year with the 15% it worked out 50p or
It
something
did.
a week.
Yeah, and that's
But
the
I
shock.
think people will accept that
Yeah.
amount rather than 15%.
But we do need to use percentages here, but it's out there to the wider population. We really need to.
We will have all the percentages and figures. Tendering
Yeah,
send through a ready reckoner that we put in our precept amount, and that tells you all the necessary figures, percentages, bandit rates, etc. And I should be getting that this week.
And the interesting thing is, I know that we weren't manacled for our rise without going out to a referendum, but that referendum thing for districts and stuff, which has disappeared, hasn't it? That's interesting. So the government are expecting there's going to be an increase because of all the extra.
Clearly, they do pay it.
Correct. You're spot on. Yeah.
And they're also wages are not going up that much.
No, what you're saying, Rick, I'm wholeheartedly with you as well. But if we could turn around to, somebody that's struggling and say, well, you're going to be paying 20 pence a week extra, are you okay with that? As opposed to you're going to be paying 20% extra, because they'll just fix that 20% in there and they'll go,
But we've also got to take into mind, we're doing hours and it may be 50p a week.
That's true.
Tendering are coming in and it's 50p a week. I know the fire brigade are quite low, but the police particularly is high on top, and Essex County are coming in with theirs. So we're talking about our odd 50p. By the time you've added all that, we're talking about £2.50.
And that's,
Sorry,
and that's
that
overshadowed.
feeds
And that
some.
overshadows our increase, so that
Yeah.
we perhaps don't get so much from that. But we're not proactive locally in going around to the locality and saying, Essex are doing this, they're doing that.
Yeah,
But
that's
by
the
the
bit
way,
people
residents,
don't
they
understand, isn't it?
By the way, residents, our increase is only X. It's a debate in its own right, but you need the percentages to make the figures right.
Well, what I was going to say is, sitting here as a resident for a moment, the most effective money that in those increases would be our increase if it provided better police services.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you know, taking 50p for fire, it's great when you don't have breaks or catches fire, but the police being here twice a week, I think and we've proved it to be the right thing to do.
You need more value for money.
Well, exactly, it's the best value for money out of all those increases.
And it can be seen.
Yeah.
It can be seen.
But the police are here twice. They're here 3 or 4 times a week at the moment, and it's not costing us.
Yeah,
No, but that will go to 5, I'm assuming.
yeah, but that's, you know, that's off their own back. He's always said, hasn't he, the sergeant's always said, look, we're going to try and control it, but don't count us all the time, because our force is stretched.
Yeah, it could be more, isn't it?
Okay, so she'll try it at, what did you say, 14?
14.
I mean, these figures here, I mean, they're not designed to be different. Tablets
Well,
are
they're a
still,
debate figure.
Yes.
Yeah.
we've got to go around several times to try and get some sort of idea.
Yeah.
So what we can do is, all of these, I mean, it's very quick, and then just keep circulating them and putting notes along either side and so on. The final one, which is was really to, if we looked at the surplus, so from previous years, it's looking healthy, so we can start to make some decisions and maybe get something out into the community that we haven't done before. So these are just 4 examples. If we did end up with our 60,000 surplus, which is shown there, it could be, for example, but energy efficiency 5,000. I mean, it's a bit my hobby was, but I mean, we don't do anything at all. Net zero, we haven't made any attempt to do anything. I mean, this building is a disaster. So that would be one possibility. I've put cost contingency 2,500. We've already got contingencies up above there as item, whatever it is, 38. That was the 38 was really for the contingencies. You know, we've just had another accident or those sort of contingencies. This is I'm just nervous a little about what could happen with inflation. So this was more a cost contingency. Bad spelling of the landlord, but landlord's improvements. You know, we've got assets, but we depreciate them, but we never actually spend anything on them. And the playgroup is the classic example. I mean, now we want to try and lease the thing, and we find that over the years we haven't kept up to date with maintenance. So before we lease it, we've got to improve it, and that's across the board really. So we just conveniently, as all people do, we forget about depreciation, and that is there for a purpose. So we should be spending some money on our assets to keep them, well, we need to improve them as well, not just maintain them, we need to improve them. So that's just another item really. Then development services, again a bit of a luxury, but if we're talking about having strategies, which we do all the time, if you're going to have a strategy and you're going to try and raise some finance, it's got to be done properly. It really has, and well, actually, and so you do need some professional services to stand a chance. You need a little bit of architect's time, a bit of structural engineer's time, a bit of graphic designer's time. So if we are going to really try and do something we're talking about and get some significant assistance, we do need a fund. You know, you can't just do it half a strategy for and expect to get a few £100,000. So that's what that item was for. And then we've got unidentified projects. We've got a little bit of funds to actually do something that we want So all of those, we could just scrap them, and but it's just showing what if there is a surplus, then what we do with that surplus. If we use these figures, we could do those items and end up with £25,000 to go back in our reserves. So if we do make 25,000 this year, and we've got another 25,000 next year, we are now looking quite healthy with our reserves. It's still, we're not too good. We've only got 3 months cover. So it shows how it can work. But obviously, if we go further up and knock all the costs down and knock the reset down, we're not going to do those things. But those are items that you can just scrap, or it would be a nice idea, but maybe it doesn't work.
So, Dave, that's so much better than what has been happening in the past council. So in the past council, how it used to work in the oldie days was if we made an operational surplus, councillors would go, ooh, I've got a pet project, we'll have that. By ring fencing some possible things for possibly doing some strategic things, it just fixes all of that. It's again, modernisation, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
Well
Can I
done.
just come in where you were saying about our surplus? And I think it's something that needs to be highlighted.
Yeah.
We only have 3 months running costs.
That's
3
true.
months surplus. We can't run on that.
No.
That
Well,
is
3
well below
3
what we
months
should,
is the limit,
is it?
the lower limit.
The lower limit, yeah. That's much lower than we should have. You know, we've seen councils fail big time. On the really changing the subject, electricity, are we due to look at our contracts with our electricity?
Yeah, and that's when I've come in, but on the utilities, the idea is that
Because I've just got a really good one.
the idea was we put that in green,
Yeah.
but the idea is in the next month or so we'll try and revise the contract and that might alter a little bit.
There
But it's not a huge item.
no, but this, I've just changed my shop over. They're a company called Tomato, would you believe? They don't charge standing charges.
Yeah.
Really?
No, and they're not much dearer than what I'm paying now. So,
No, we need to review the utility. Sorry, Matthew.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like is 44 unidentified projects. I just think if we're talking about strategy, we should be talking about specific things. I would say I would be uneasy having a block of money there which we don't know what we're going to spend on. I would say stick that into the COPS, stick that on 37, and then
I mean,
or at
if
least
we want to do stuff, we should be planning it a year in advance. If we want to do something big that's going to cost us 12 grand as a project, we should be looking at it.
yeah. Well, I think it's our fault really. We should have this defined project.
Yeah.
No, we should.
And one of the reasons we don't, I suppose, is just we think, well, we won't have £12,000.
Yeah.
So we should have. We're not ahead of the curve, are we?
Yeah.
can we just take out the word unidentified and leave project?
Put strategic
I still would.
projects.
I would want to see
Put it.
an actual project name against it. So we've got one ready to go. It's Quasar, Project Quasar. I know we're doing a lot of work strategically, but that's not going to be done really in time for the next financial year.
That's the 14 then. You put that in.
Yeah, I think it's an obvious.
So if what I'd suggest is that we look at it's sensitivity analysis, and we start going around and adjusting these figures, making clear what we're doing, and just sending it round and round.
Yeah.
And then eventually we might get something that's so we'll have to sort of try and manage this by email. But
So can I ask just on the boat park, that 30 grand is after we've done all this work to it?
Well, I was going to ask you, there doesn't seem any expenditure of that boat down there. So we're not looking at a lot. But
well, I put 30,000 net, which is but really it should be. We're hoping to get more than that, and end up with 30 after we've spent some improvements.
So that-
But I mean, it is fin and wind stuff, and that's why we should this time. If we, I mean, what's going to happen about the jetty? What's going to happen about the boat park? It's early days, isn't it? Really, so we've got to be a little bit careful, I think.
However, I do think this budget is, for the first time, as Birmingham Council, we are actually coming out, and there is some clear air coming out, which is marvellous, because it means we can
And it shows professionalism.
It does,
really
it
does.
does change completely.
What, can I just ask, so what if we went down and did that back to the precinct, that's still in at 10%?
But you've got it, I think you've got
Can we ask for some figures to come round at 5%, 7% and 10%? Sorry, Tracy.
That's fine.
No, I mean, what we'll do, just for starters, in the next few days, we'll do this with a series of lined up, just alternatives, random alternatives,
Yeah.
and then see which one is not the case. So put the policing in, take some of these other ones out. Anyway, if you, we'll play around with them a little bit and then get something else.
And, sorry, on the council tax, can we have it monetary as well as
Yeah, as soon as I get
percentage?
the calculator from 10
Yeah, yeah, I knew that was due,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, it's due this week.
I mean, the one that is, it's the second vehicle is the one that goes in. It's a, you know, we can't keep spending money on ourselves, which is what it's
I think,
needed to
I
do
think
the
Chris's
job.
review, that's going to give some answers, isn't it, Chris? Because you're going to look at what they're using that second vehicle for. And it may be that they don't need such a big vehicle. It may be an old Mackie or something, you know.
And I also think come January, I think it's 16th, isn't it, the white paper, because that's had a delay, the white paper's coming out on, you know, the way it's going to go, and that's cutting it unitary, that's cutting it very close to setting budgets, but we will know, have a bit more idea on what town and parish councils have got to take on.
When are they coming in?
16th of January.
January.
It should have been out the 20... No, it could be 16th of this month, sorry.
I thought it was the 18th of December.
16th, yeah.
I thought it was
Let me
December.
just...
And
It
taking
should
this
have
one to
been
get the
last
right
month.
paper out, do you think they're going to be able to do it?
Yes.
They're still pushing it. It is.
I heard it in the ether.
Sorry, right, well,
Sorry, it's...
whether it's any good.
The speculation around LGR continues. We're expecting the publication of the white paper on the 16th of this month. We'll then follow it up. So we'll get, as district councillors, we'll get a
Do
briefing.
you know what happens to county-wide? So what's happening to the police then?
Essex.
Sorry?
Essex.
No, they're separate. They're not.
Oh, they're separate.
They're their own thing.
They're going to stay as a separate entity.
Yeah, they're nothing, the fire brigade, no, they will still report to Roger Hurst in this case at the moment.
But my straw poll is district disputes.
Okay, well, just stick with the plot.
Well, you know, you've got one Essex, you'll have one
Yeah.
sort of Colchester Braintree. This tendering.
We'll have a Stansted postcode.
No,
Sorry,
Well, no, it's coming off a day, but I'll tell you in a minute what they think out.
you don't know until the white paper's out.
Right, anything more on the...
can I ask, once that happens, will we get the rates will go down, I presume?
I'll put it in here. Right, anything else on this?
No.
Okay.
Well done, Dave.
Okay, next item is any questions from the gallery, please?
The gallery.
Oh, the rename.
You can go gallery, you go first time if you not.
106 monies, how much is in the kitty?
This is approximate, but about 120,000.
And how long's it been there?
It varies from, and I'm at the planning stage. They give it a number, which I've always assumed the first number is the year it's come in. And so I think the oldest stuff is about 10 years old.
Are we getting interest on that money?
It's not our money.
It's not our money.
It's in tendering control. They probably do. I don't know.
Why haven't we used it then? If we're not getting
No, we don't get it. We don't get it. It's
I know we don't, but it's our money.
no, I think they would argue with you. They've collected it.
We'll do it.
They've collected it, and we get the benefit of it.
Well, we can get it out of them.
Yeah, when we get it out of them.
And also 106 money
I
will
thought there was
be...
a time limit as well. And how long?
There is, but it's long. But it can be set up that when they start building, you get a little. They've set it, and that's what it's going to be. You don't get it until the total completion, which could be 5 years later. So although it's down as 10 years, It
Yeah,
might have only
yeah,
been
but-
there as 5, you know, it's...
Yeah, the stuff at on Robinson Road, the thing there, because it's been built over 4 or 5 years, that probably most of it didn't come until the end.
In fact, yeah, a couple of 18 months ago, I think the final payment coming on that, wasn't it?
Probably.
Wasn't very long.
Yeah, but it goes straight into Tendring's coffers. And
So once that final payment is there, is there a time limit on when that HPD?
It's long.
Yeah.
It is long.
It is long. It's years.
Yeah, so I was just looking at the old spreadsheet. So there's stuff that was allocated in 2016 that has an end date of 2036.
Yeah, so about 10 years, isn't it?
20 years, 20 years.
Yeah, it is
Then
long.
there's a different one which is 15 years.
I think actually planning law has changed, that the more recent stuff they have to use quicker now, but I don't think it's still sort of 7 or 8 years, it's not months.
Yeah, there's loads of time.
Any other questions?
Yeah, there is. It's a continuation of that. You're in negotiations with the cricket club, asking them. You said last time, I think, we want some ideas. Well, the cricket club are going to have a social club. I understand that 106 money should be for the whole community. Now, if you take Gary's, I was talking to Gary Scott, the village hall at Alsford, money went in there and everybody uses it. You have a playground down here, which is good. The kids all use it, that's good. But how is this going to work for a social club, which is there to make money? How are we going to benefit as the overall general public? And how much money are you going to make available if they put in their thing and you decide to go ahead with this? How much money do they get for 106 money?
Right, well, so I completely agree.
Yeah.
We've sent them a letter saying those very things
But
because
why were they picked? Why have they put in a form in to say that they want the 106 money, or have you just decided that we think you, the council, would put it in? Sorry, I'm not.
No. So what's actually happened is that we had a meeting with them, and they implied that they would themselves put in the Section 106 application, because anybody can put one in.
Okay. Yeah.
And because we sat in that meeting, and I thought, as a councillor, we should be involved. We don't want them just to apply themselves. So I said, yes, we'll be involved, let's discuss it. Subsequent to that, the FCA meeting, a couple of months, meeting, wrote to her and said there is a criteria for 106, that it's got to be open to the full public. And besides that, we went to Christy Charles, who is the Section 106 lady there, and asked her to send the specification to us. And we said, how are you going to meet that criteria? She sent us a reply which we're not fully satisfied with, and last night we agreed to send a second letter saying, how are you going to do this, because it's got to be open to everybody. Now, the first reply did include the fact that it's going into a trust fund, the whole, the money and the ownership of the property will go into a trust fund. But that doesn't actually, it's not trust funds we're worried about, which she's got, I think she's sort of confused herself. We're more worried about access.
And we still own the land, the council, we own the
that
land.
letter's gone off, or will be going off today.
That's incorrect use of 106 funds.
That definitely is.
Yeah, or there is a written specification. It's not something we can fiddle with.
It's probably changed, but at one time, that 106 money was spent in the area of the building site, wasn't it?
Yeah,
For like a playground or something for that site.
Yeah.
Then it changed slightly that you could spend money on, say, existing playfields.
so is that what?
You couldn't go and spend it just anywhere, though, could you? Or is it all changed?
Can I just ask, because I spoke to Jane, and she might say, you've got the overall final size of the 3 district councillors.
That's right.
So what I'm trying to say is how much money is allocated to the rec then? Is you've got 120,000.
Right,
Can you do it?
Can I just explain and answer
Yeah,
that question?
yeah.
So nowadays, the new applications coming in for the last 2 or 3 years,
Yeah.
the negotiation of Section 106 has become much more specific.
Yeah.
So, as far as I know, at this particular moment, there's about 14,000 actually allocated to Bayards Rec. But there's previous money for the whole of Brighton Sea area, which was open space, which you know would, and that equates to, I think, something in the region of 60 to 80,000. I can't remember the numbers, but you know, that's an approximate. So when somebody comes along and asks for some money, when we come along and ask for some money for Maynards, they can make it up with the 14,000 that's specifically with Maynards, and some from the general fund. Okay.
So what are you talking about? A maximum amount of money that the cricket club would benefit from?
Oh, it's. I mean, there's.
Well, we're not talking about. We're not driving.
No, I know you're not driving. No, but I'm saying.
They could apply for all of them. They wouldn't get it, but they could apply.
We can't stop them.
Yeah, I mean,
can't stop the
No, because when you go online and you look at these public things that they say have a social or sports club, that all have a provision in there that it's for the whole of the town.
yeah.
And if you've got a social club there, that can't, they're making money. It's not like we're going to build a pavilion and we've got a hall there, and other groups can come in there, or maybe they want to do indoor archery. That isn't the case. Yeah. And that's the thing that...
I mean, that's the thing we're arguing about. So to take it very, very simply, my view is if the cricket club is having a cricket match, all the income that's going into that store can go to the cricket people.
Yeah.
But if there's an archery club there and their food and drink is being sold, then that should go to the archery club. But I don't think they work that out.
No, she hasn't worked that way.
But I mean, that will be the criteria of the basis of the Section 106.
And also what they're actually applying to do with that money as well. So let's say if they were applying as part of their application to say, okay, we're going to apply for £50,000 worth of S106 money to build an outdoor gym, which is going to be open for the whole use of the whole town. That's very different from just topping up their construction fund for a clubhouse.
But there again, you'll take the facility away from the town, aren't you? Because if you're going to build another building on that ground,
Project's got to be big.
That's all part of planning discussion and the discussion around S106.
It's going to go on forever, isn't it?
No, we won't. That's all.
When the meeting's finished, I'll show you the email.
Yeah.
Okay, because if not, it will go on.
No, thank you very much. So, a lot of discussion on
Clearly, we're
it.
expecting the same thing.
Just to say that you should read the national press about the police this morning, and Essex are in big trouble with the police, so your Quasar project may not even go off the ground.
Essex police are in trouble with the police?
Well, they are, with a number.
There's 9 districts, isn't it, that are in trouble?
Yeah.
And Essex is one of them.
They're really in.
Well, maybe Quasar's the only thing that's going to save a few jobs.
Yeah.
For their 15 grand from us.
Maybe they're going to apply for the 106 million.
And they will force this unitary authority thing in. They've got a huge majority, so you will not stop it. Sorry.
Well, it's a good note to end on, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sorry, that's you. I'm always a pessimist, but that's what makes me so happy.
Yeah, finished, right.
We have finished.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
Just before we close off, is the camera off yet?
Oh, you don't.
You get
No, sorry.